you should be actively building your email list. That is like, I use the analogy of like a kid collecting candy on Halloween. That's you all year long building your email list. You should find joy every time you get another email because it is truly a really powerful way to connect and communicate with your audience.
Yeah, I'm like Ashley. I cannot say enough how important it is to build your email list. If social media, my analogy is imagining a neighborhood. Social media is
Mm-hmm.
your version of being out in the neighborhood and telling people about you, but your email list really is the doormat to your house. This is the place where you can set the tone and you can set the mood for what it means to be a part of this mission.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have officially hit afternoon in the East Coast time zone. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey, Nick, how are you?
I am good. I'm happy that it's almost Friday.
Yeah, listen, I almost thought it was Friday, to be honest with you.
You know, we can make it Friday. That's okay.
You said that. I had to check the calendar all of a sudden. So, well, it's so good to have you here. I'll give everyone a couple minutes to join, but we're so excited. This is going to be the first of a monthly workshop series that we're hosting with Cerulean Consulting Group. My name is Ashley Martin. I'm the founder and CEO of Cerulean. We are a full service PR and marketing agency based in the Midwest. And today I am joined by
Nick Stephanie. I'm the business development manager here at Cerulean. I have a large background in working with community and nonprofits. So I'm really excited about this conversation and sharing these tips because these are very close to Ashley and I's heart. So this will be a definitely great conversation.
They really are. I am so excited to have her joining today. As you know, Nick, you're welcome to jump in at any point. Nick is a talented marketer herself, so I absolutely feel so privileged every time we get to kind of work together. Today, we're here to talk about strategic tips for marketing your mission. This is one of our free webinars here at Cerulean Consulting Group. We're really excited to be sharing information, tips, and tricks for folks who are really social impact leaders who are change makers. And so this is a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to identify not only why this information matters, but we're going to give you some tips and tricks for implementing best practices within your own organization. So we'll talk today about crafting compelling year-end appeals, some digital campaign best practices, and we'll also talk about building deeper donor relationships. If you're new to Cerulean, I will say we are all about community. We believe that we're better together and that by strengthening and supporting one another, we're going to ultimately improve the quality of life for us all. So you'll hear us talk about collaboration a lot throughout this presentation, but we also believe in strategy. So we're hoping that it will help you work smarter, not harder today. So again, this workshop is for change makers. It's for those nonprofit directors and leaders, for-profit social impact leaders, grassroots community organizers, and creative activists. If you are at an organization, if you're leading an organization, or if you yourself are just a champion for change, we welcome you. We are really excited about helping you kind of amplify your mission and support your cause. This information is really important because 30% of annual giving occurs in December. 10% of all donations come in during the last 3 days of the year. And year-end giving can actually account for up to 50% of annual donations for many organizations. Even thinking about the retail side of things, you guys, we've always heard about how impactful Black Friday is and like the last kind of holiday gifting season. So it's no different here in the nonprofit space, right? It's also an election year. So you have a lot of saturation happening in the marketplace, especially now through November with paid political ads. So it can be a little harder to cut through the noise of, and get to your ideal customer, your ideal target audience during this particular time. But we're going to talk about some strategies today to help you with that. So let's start with crafting compelling year-end appeals. We want to talk first about the power of data-driven decisions. I want you to understand your donor base, okay? You guys, we're in the 21st century now. We have access to technology, we have data, we even have AI, right? So I want you to really think about how the tools you're using can help you inform the direction that you go for your campaigns. So if you haven't already had a conversation with your leadership team about their goals for the organization in the last half of this year, I encourage you to do so. And then I want you to look at the data to see if it supports that direction, and how you can use those insights around your most engaged donors, your most successful campaigns from earlier in the year. How can you use insights around those two facets to really like make an impact in this last half of 2024? I also want you to think about how your tools offer you the opportunity to segment your audiences. Okay, so if you're using Bloomerang, if you're using QGIF, if you're using like, there's so many different tools that you can use to segment your audience. Heck, even like a MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that. You can tailor your message so that it is customized for each of the individuals you're communicating with. We also want you to set realistic goals, okay? Don't set no pie in the sky, big dream goals in the last half of this year. You only have, so many weeks in a quarter. And then you have to subtract holidays from that, your own personal travel time. And we really want you to be realistic and set goals that your organization can achieve within a dedicated time frame. Of course, we also want you to measure and adjust your progress as you pursue those goals. It's so, so important to craft a powerful story. So when you identify those goals from your leadership team, I want you to think about a way to connect emotionally with the donor so that they understand how their contribution has directly impacted lives of the individuals that your nonprofit is serving, okay? I even heard I even want you to think of creatively, right? I even heard of an organization using virtual reality, you guys, to illustrate what it was like to like live on the streets homeless and actually be going through that experience on a day-to-day basis and meeting someone that's able to help them turn their life around, right? So think about how you can give someone an immersive experience with or without technology. Help to paint that picture for them as best you can visually, in writing, with video, with audio, tangible opportunities to engage at events. There's so many ways that you can tell this story, but you have to start with the story. You have to start with an actual key or core message that's connected to the outcome or the goal that you're fundraising for. So you want it to connect emotionally. You want to use it to increase engagement because they're going to feel more motivated to give. And that'll also build trust so that they know what they're donating toward is actually going to get applied in the way that they think. And it's the same thing that you guys are on the same page in that regard. Now, we have to make a game plan. I have to throw this slide into every presentation I give because you believe it or not, everyone has so many good ideas. Sometimes we just hit the ground running and we don't stop to make a plan. If you're new to marketing, if you don't have a strong background in marketing, I want you to look at these options, right? These are different tactics that you can incorporate into a comprehensive marketing plan that your organization can use to execute a fundraising strategy, right? So you don't have to use all of these. I do not recommend that. And if it's not your area of expertise, we're here to help. Just reach out to Nick or I. But I want you to know that you need to think about not only which tactic your organization should use to reach your goal, but who on your team is going to manage that tactic. What is the frequency of execution for each of those tactics selected? And is the tactic the right fit for the audience, right? So the age range or the background of individuals that you're trying to reach, is it the right fit for that person? So the other thing I want you guys to know is that we have to get everyone in your organization on the same page. Everyone should be in a room come game day, focusing on the task at hand. And you can't get everyone on the same page if you don't have that strategy in writing. So once you create your list of tactics and your execution plan, I want you to literally send a calendar invite, reserve a conference room, put everyone at the same table at the same time so that you can execute that game plan. Put dates and times on a calendar, okay? Be mindful of major events that are coming up. Again, I mentioned, November 5th is actually election day, in addition to these holidays listed here, right? So you want to be thoughtful around what your potential, conflicts could be if you expect outcomes during these particular times, right? People are busy focusing on family and other things, and you want to really have an opportunity to capture their full attention. Speaking of campaigns, let's talk about some best practices. Nick, as I go along, if there's any questions in the chat or in the Q&A or anything at all, please feel free to just jump in and stop me. But you guys, we're real informal and conversational. I get excited and nerd out about this, obviously. So I'm just kind of flowing right now, but interrupt me at any time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as it relates to social media, you guys, you can use a 12 days of giving campaign, for example, right? So this 12 days of giving campaign is nice because it sustains engagement. It's a way for folks to come back day in and day out, and they know they're going to have an exciting new message from the organization of choice, right? So you want to make sure that this campaign, whatever you decide it's going to be, has a very clear call to action, ideally to donate or share, right, or both. But we want people to know that it's important for them to act now. We need to create a little bit of urgency around what you're asking. So sometimes we might do campaigns that are more focused on generating awareness or just sharing information, but this campaign in particular is focused on action. So we want to focus on that call to action at the end of the campaign. The next thing I want you guys to know is that when it comes to best practices for social, consistency is key, okay? You have to post consistently during the window of opportunity that you set for your campaign, okay? You also have to use high quality images and videos that tell your story effectively. And I already talked about the clear call to action. One bonus thing I'll mention that I did not put on the slide is that you have to use the right platform for the right audience. Okay. So don't think you're going to need to be everywhere all the time. You don't have to be on every single platform that has ever existed. You just need to be where your audience is. So we know that Facebook has an older audience skew where we're talking like 35 plus, right? And then we know that Instagram is kind of that like, 20 to 35 range. And then we have TikTok where the majority of folks are in their early 20s or their 20s, right? So everyone is kind of everywhere. But like maybe you just need to be on LinkedIn because you're targeting business professionals, or you want to prioritize sponsors or donors in this particular season. Maybe you need to emphasize Facebook and Instagram more so than like a TikTok, right? So don't feel pressured to do it all. Just be thoughtful and strategic, and you'll be able to reach your goal.
Yeah, and actually, I just want to add something else to think about when creating social media content. You definitely want to think about resetting your audience's attention with the content that you're posting. So if you're posting a 30-second video on TikTok, you only have 30 seconds. And unfortunately, people are most likely to click off in that first 5 seconds. So when you are creating, get to the point as quickly as possible, but also think about those first 5 seconds and think about how you can hook someone in. And when I talk about resetting attention, we are always doing a million things. We have the phone in our hands while a Netflix show is on, or we're holding a baby or washing dishes. Some of us are driving. We shouldn't be doing that. But you want to think about how can you keep someone engaged with your social media content. A very easy way to do that is use auto-generated captions. A lot of times people are more likely to they're likely to view through your content if you have something on the screen guiding them. Some people will also, you'll see them popping in emojis or they're popping in memes. That's something that's really important on social, is to really speak to the cultural moment so that your content can get picked up in the algorithm. So that you don't have to spend so much time doing pay to play, and you can really use your paid media budget to support the content that you're already building momentum on.
Absolutely, Nick. Oh, there's so much there. I feel like we could just like really go deep because you said so many important things. First of all, pay to play is an option. You can do paid advertising on social. That can be an effective way to reach your target audience directly, but it's saturated right now because of politics. So that could be a little tricky to navigate. You just have to time it right and whatever. But outside of that, you also mentioned, resetting attention and using that clear hook. That's going to also be important when you're creating your messaging for PR too, and you're on a local news station, right? And you're getting in front of an audience that way. Sound bites are real. Folks editing videos down that's very real, right? And think about your own attention span, as she said, it's short. So we want everyone who is representing your organization to know what the campaign is, know the talking points, and use them effectively. And so there are so many creative ways that you can kind of play to the times, right? And fun trends that are happening on social. And those can really be beneficial for a campaign to gain traction and have some momentum, like Nick shared. So thanks for adding those, Nick. Those are really great ideas for the folks listening in.
Of course.
Let's talk about email. So, email marketing is also kind of low hanging fruit. I feel like people undervalue email personally. I always meet folks who are kind of like, oh, you think email marketing is something we should prioritize? Absolutely. Email marketing is one of the like communication channels that you actually own, right? Like if Instagram or Facebook goes down tomorrow, how are you going to communicate with your audience? You're going to use email because you have it direct access to them personally. So we can use tools to send mass emails, right? We can customize those emails and do it efficiently. If you're new to email marketing, there are CRMs that have email, mass email features built in. There are also just direct like email marketing platforms that don't have any of the fundraising backend that you may need for nonprofit work. But you want to use email. You can even just send a personal, regular, old-fashioned email to someone and ask them to give using the link to donate on your website, right? So no matter what method you use, depending on your organization's budget capability, I highly recommend considering email because it's a great way to drive donor engagement, all right? We want to use the same principles that we talked about before with effective storytelling and clear calls to action. We want to also know that you can send multiple emails in one day. You don't have to just do a monthly newsletter, a weekly newsletter. During a marketing campaign, you can send multiple emails in one day. You just want to be thoughtful about the type of content that you're sending, personalize it as much as possible. You don't need to send the same email to everyone. You can segment your audience. And you can also be thoughtful about like the timing again, right? So you might want to space some of this out, knowing that you have some major activity happening toward in December. Okay, holidays are kind of in there, November, Giving Tuesday. So you're going to want to make a clear calendar for the frequency so that you're not spamming people during this season. But it can be an effective tool. Some best practices for email marketing. We've talked already about segmenting your audience. You also want to use compelling subject lines because you know how this works. The more interesting the subject line, the more informative the subject line, the more likely you are to open the email. And then we want to personalize it too, because that also increases the likelihood of opening. And then finally, I want to just mention, like, we want to be thoughtful about the tech, right? We want to know that the email you're crafting is mobile friendly because the majority of your folks are going to be reading these emails on their phones or tablets. And deliverability. If you haven't been using email marketing actively, your list might have some issues with deliverability depending on the platform you're using, or you may need updated contact information for your audience. So don't get discouraged if you start to notice like some data, some of your numbers are low, right? Your open rates, your deliverability rates, things like that. There are ways to troubleshoot for that, but you should be actively building your email list. That is like, I use the analogy of like a kid collecting candy on Halloween. That's you all year long building your email list. You should find joy every time you get another email because it is truly a really powerful way to connect and communicate with your audience.
Yeah, I'm like Ashley. I cannot say enough how important it is to build your email list. If social media, my analogy is imagining a neighborhood. Social media is your version of being out in the neighborhood and telling people about you, but your email list really is the doormat to your house. This is the place where you can set the tone and you can set the mood for what it means to be a part of this mission. This is where you get to bring value to your audience. And one of the key things that you should be asking yourself for every email you send is, how am I bringing value to the person on the other end of this email? That will make it so much easier to create content. Release yourself from just thinking that you have to be selling all the time and pushing goals. Really think about what type of value you're bringing and make it easy for your audience to understand exactly what that email is going to be about. So use numbers, like don't stuff too much in an email unless it's going to be a digest email and you're going to be using that intentionally, but use numbers in your subject line. Give them 3 tips. Give them some stats. Give them something that's going to make them stop and say, oh, this is something that I need to know right now, and that will actually make your giving messages a lot easier, because people are more likely to give to someone who is giving them value. And if you're not giving value, at least inspire them about your mission, right? Inspire them, encourage them, get those hearts revved up, so that they can get in alignment when you do send out those giving messages. But again, I cannot say enough how important it is to build your email list. The reality of social media is that at any moment, it could go down. At any moment, Facebook,
Yep.
Instagram, TikTok, we've already seen that with the bans. At any
I was
moment,
gonna say TikTok could get banned.
right, right. And some of these audience, like on Pinterest, you don't even know who you're talking to, right? So you don't even get to really see those people in the same way that you do on other platforms. So your email list really is the nucleus of your outreach. So please, please, please prioritize building your email list if that's not something that's already top of priority.
Yeah, and speaking of front door, in Nick's analogy, I honestly think your website is your online home, right? So email is definitely like the front door. The website is the house that you want to maintain at all times, right? So we want you to know that your website needs to be optimized. And when we say optimized, that can mean so many things. But at the very least, for a fundraising campaign, it needs to have a clear, compelling message with a call to action button so that folks can easily donate or help you reach your goal, right? So we know that these clear call to action buttons help to not only enhance the user experience because they're not looking for things all over your site. They know exactly where to go. They see that donate button right at the top of your page or right in the first third of your page. We know that helps increase online donations. We can also use like QR codes or just direct links that can help people get to the donate page directly. Like you could create a standalone landing page or something that helps, again, like simplify and focus your audience so that they're getting to that donate button even faster. But ideally, we want you to think about how can you improve your website so that it is extremely user-friendly for your campaign, okay? We wanna make sure that it also aligns with campaign goals. So if you're telling stories on social about a mother and children who you've been able to help rehome and provide food and shelter and things, that same story you might want to reflect some of those stories on your website, right? So that they kind of like know they're in the same place. You could tell the same story in a different way. Maybe you have a comprehensive version of that story, that testimonial on your website, and you're sharing bits and pieces of it once at a time on social. Maybe you're sharing a different perspective from the mom in the email, right? So there's different ways that you could kind of layer and communicate a single story. And you want to think of how your website is used to tie everything together. Again, when it comes to optimizing your website, though, you guys, we have to simplify the donation process. So you don't want people to have to click 10 times to get to the donate button. You want them to be able to click, 3 times max if they have to actually donate, like complete the donation on your page, right? You're clicking once to get to the donate page, you're filling out your information, you're clicking submit. Maybe there's an extra step that they have to review or approve, but ideally, like we're donating as quickly as possible, right? We also want to create some urgency around your campaign, especially during the season. Folks are going to be asked to give and buy in so many different ways. I mean, I think they bumped Black Friday up to like Halloween now, right? So we're starting to see ads bombarding us to spend our money, and we want folks to know that they can spend with you, right? So think about how you can create some urgency and some time-bound metrics around your marketing, and don't be afraid to emphasize those things on your homepage as well. And then finally, we talked already about showing impact and just telling the donor how their money is going to help you guys transform lives, or positively uplift or benefit members of our community, or physically transform the environment. There's so many different causes that you guys are champions of that we are so grateful for, and our organization in particular really loves supporting mission-driven work. But we have to tell those stories. We have to show the impact, and we have to use technology as a tool to help us get the word out. So anyways, that's kind of the last piece I have about website optimization. Again, we can go so deep. Anything you wanted to add there, Nick? I know that you've had great thoughts so far, so I wanted to give you an opportunity before I go on.
Yes, and please drink some water in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Water breaks.
I will just add that when I'm thinking about storytelling for donors, one easy way that a easy process that I follow is I speak about the mission and then I speak about the roadblocks. If you focus your stories down these two lanes, you'll start to create at least the pillars of the messaging that you need. If storytelling does not come as easy to you, I got my start in film and entertainment. So storytelling is at the heart of everything that I do, but I understand that sometimes when you hear marketers say tell stories that may not, you may not that may not register. So if that doesn't resonate, just think about how do you explain your mission to people? And then how do you talk about the roadblocks that are preventing you from reaching that mission? And that's where your specific community stories can come into play and where you can also talk about the action that you're taking. And that's something that will create urgency and incentivize people to donate and join your mission. People like to give to something that's already in motion. So when you can lay out how you are overcoming those roadblocks, people are more likely to donate. And like Ashley said, make it easy for them, make it as easy as possible to receive the money.
Absolutely, absolutely. Those are great tips. And we'll talk a little bit more about storytelling too. So please add more as you think of it, Nick, as we kind of go into a few other points before we close out our presentation. How are we already halfway through? Time flies when you're having fun, I swear. Okay, so let's talk about building deeper donor relationships. Okay, so when I say building deeper donor relationships, one of the main things I just want to reiterate for everyone is personalize, personalize, personalize. There are ways, even simple ways, where at the top of an email, you can switch out instead of saying hello, you can say, hello, Ashley, hello, Nick. You can put their first name in the email, right? To make them feel like you're writing a custom email directly to them, even though it's a mass email, right? So it doesn't have to be complicated. When we talk about segmenting your list, then yeah, we can think about folks who gave in 2022, 2023, but they have yet to give in 2024. So maybe the message to them is, hi, Ashley, thanks for your donation in 2022. It would be so great if we could, if you could donate again in 2024, right? So there are ways that we don't have to send the same message to everyone, and technology makes that really easy for us. But in general, I want you to think about those ways that you can personalize. How can you kind of segment your audiences? We at the baseline, you've got to say thank you, right? You've got to send those personalized thank you emails or messages or gifts to acknowledge their contributions and how it helped you, impact families or help you reach your goal. We know that you can strengthen donor loyalty and you can also increase the likelihood that they will give repeatedly when you start to personalize your communications to them. And then you can also build long-term relationships with them by making them feel valued. I often tell people, especially when it comes to events, you will only get people to come to an event if they feel like you'll miss them if they won't be there. They have to feel wanted. They have to feel like you are looking for them to come. And that is hard but easy to do. It can be hard to do if you're meeting them for the first time. But in general, if you have a relationship with them, if they've been involved with your organization in the past, especially when it comes to volunteer engagement and management, you want them to know that they are valued. Their specific gift, their specific time, their specific skill is needed. And we want you at the table when you come. So you have to think about how that story that we've been talking about connects to how they can move the needle towards your goal. The other thing I will say about this particular topic is it's important to follow up and show that you appreciate. You can do that in so many ways. It helps with donor retention. You could send handwritten notes. You can send a little swag item, a promotional gift to them. But it'll help you with word of mouth. And I think everyone knows the power of word of mouth, right? It makes them feel thankful. Think about how many times you have posted on your own personal social media a gift that someone has given you, thanking you for your service in honor of their organization, or or just like you've acknowledged them and you've posted, oh, I volunteered today for a neighborhood cleanup, and you tag the organization and they repost, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I reposted. It's so small, you guys. It doesn't always have to be a big thing, but it builds community. It helps people feel like they're a part of your tribe. It helps them know that you see them, that you acknowledge them, and that you appreciate them. I also want to talk about the importance of creating lasting donor impact, because it is expensive to find new donors, but you already have a list. Double down on that first. So when you're creating your strategy, you should look at what's working already that you can amplify in the last half of this year, right? You don't need to start from scratch right now. That's something that we can plan for 2025 and get some new energy into the organization. But right now, when you're thinking about how can I tip the needle, reach my fundraising goals in the last half of this year, look at what's working and how can you build on that. So maybe you already had a set of new donors this year. Maybe we're rolling out a donor loyalty program where you can get them, you'll give them a special recognition if after they make their second donation before the end of the calendar year. Or you'll give them, like, think about fundraising campaigns, right? Or excuse me, crowdfunding campaigns, where sometimes you might get a t-shirt or a tchotchke or something, depending on what level you give at. You could create similar programs and roll them out in Q3, Q4. So I want you to get creative. I want you to think about why people are motivated to give to your organization and how can you play into that. Again, it's all about building community. So as we get into the last half of this presentation, or last portion, I just want to share an opportunity for us to work together with one another. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this section because I love to have a personal conversation with each of you. Nick, feel free to actually jump in and take over. She's our business development manager, and she does an awesome job of welcoming new companies into our family of clients. And we really do treat everyone like a family. They mean a lot to us.
Yes, so we are really, really, really excited to roll out these new packages. This is something that Ashley's actually poured a lot of energy into really figuring out how can we better serve nonprofit leaders and social impact leaders, the people that are doing this work. So these packages that we're rolling out, which you see here up on the screen, they are tailored to speak directly to the type of campaigns and the type of support that you'll need. We offer these in 6 to 12 month stints. So sometimes the giving season is more seasonal. So we understand that maybe there's a flow of you coming in and out, or maybe you just need a team for the full year. These packages are scalable, and you receive your own pod to help you actually complete these campaigns and get your message out there, because we know with nonprofit work that a lot of times we're all wearing so many hats. So this is an opportunity for us to work together with you and help you achieve those goals. We just laid out so many gems. Ashley just really laid out so many great strategies that you can take advantage of, and we want you to be able to take advantage of that. So there's a QR code here on the next slide. You can scan that and submit a contact form if you want to have a deeper conversation, if any of those packages pique your interest, or you can reach out to Ashley or myself directly. It's the same email address format, just nick@ceruleanconsultinggroup.com. And we can set up a session and we can figure out which combination of these packages or which packages would work best for you. Maybe social media is somewhere that you want to spend more time this season. Maybe it's email. Maybe it's actually building out something for photo and video. We're based in the Midwest, but we have a team of talented storytellers everywhere. So that's something that we can definitely figure out. How can we tell that story, and how can we get a great team down there to support you? But yeah, I just saw Ashley drop in the chat any questions. If anyone does have questions, we would definitely love to answer those.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for the time being, but I'm going to keep my eye on the chat here. Let's see if there's any questions. I know that there was one. Let me see. This was so fun. Also, you guys, we're going to be doing this once a month, every month, and we want to start to create a community of change agents. We want to start to build a network. This particular workshop is sponsored by Unison, which is a community of social impact leaders that are really, truly ushering in the future of work. So We're proud to give you a preview of that online community today. If any of this information resonated with you, if you feel like you're kind of on the cutting edge of the nonprofit space or just that like, social impact space in general, then please keep your ear open for Unison. More information will be coming soon, but that's our wonderful sponsor for today's workshop. And then if you have ideas for future workshop content, don't hesitate to go ahead and share that in the chat too. We'd love to know what your future topic ideas are so that we can prepare to share, what we know about them. We just love marketing and PR. We love nonprofit work, and we want to really do our best to contribute some feedback on how you guys can really change the world. So I'm getting a message that chat is disabled. So, there is an option to submit in the Q&A. Someone said, how can we measure the success of our fundraising efforts across different channels? Oh, that is a great question, you guys. So one way in particular is to use analytics. So most platforms have analytics built in. For your website, you may have to activate analytics, using like a Google Analytics integration, but most web providers nowadays definitely offer analytics as a feature of the website. I'm going to see if I can turn on chat too. Nick, do you want to talk more about how to use analytics to measure the success of our fundraising efforts across different channels?
Yeah, so measuring success also depends on what KPIs you're measuring. So Ashley just laid out a really easy way to get started with that, which is Google Analytics. Google also has Looker, so you can actually back in a few other platforms into that. If you want to see a more holistic view of your strategy, you can also do it the old-fashioned way and just have everything funneling into a spreadsheet. But there are those data dump programs that you can do if you just want to get a holistic, high-level view of how everything is performing. I'm old school. I like to do it the spreadsheet way because I like to really play around with data, but there are lots of ways to synthesize that. There are lots of AI tools that you can also, if you feel comfortable, depending on the sensitivity of the information, you can use that to also give you a summary of what the data story is there. I'm curious to know what KPIs you're looking for, because that will also kind of paint a clearer picture of what that dashboard needs to look like. But my short answer is creating a dashboard, whether that be something that you just plug in with through API connections, or you can just create one with a spreadsheet and drop that in. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Woohoo! Chat is open now. And Nick said, you said something really important. When you guys are making your strategy, you want to create KPIs or key performance indicators. So you will want to measure different metrics depending on your goal. So, for example, maybe your nonprofit's target audience is on the older end, right? Maybe they are 40 plus and you're using Facebook as a social channel, but you're also doing like some direct mail, right? So your KPIs might be, how many response forms did you receive via, standard mail versus how many online donations you received? Or you might be leaning more on email marketing or, other platforms than more so than TikTok or Instagram. So your key performance indicators are going to look very different from an organization that's prioritizing that early 20, audience. And they're going to be using primarily, mobile devices. They're going to do online giving. They want some gamification or some other, we can measure success in the form of engagement, shares, likes, comments, more so than just donations themselves. So you might also want to broaden your definition of success, right? Maybe, yes, we want donations, but we also want increased visibility around our mission. And you're using this time to tell stories of your impact so that you can prime your audience for some new programs you're rolling out next year. So you do need to think about like your organization's strategic plan, your leadership team's goals, and how your short-term campaigns are aligning with those. Another question, Nick, we have is what are some low-cost strategies we can use if our budget is limited? Good question. Well, hopefully today we've shared some ideas with you of different strategies that you can implement, not only based on impact, but based on your budget. So, like I said, you could use a great platform like Bloomerang or some sort of, full service CRM. And there's all sorts of integrations that you can add on to that, right, to make your life easier when it comes to technology and marketing. But you can also just send things out in a regular old fashioned email, a regular letter with a stamp, like there's so many ways that you can reach your audience and engage with them. You can make a phone call, guys, like there's so many ways that you can get the word out about your audience. So we've tried to share not only those high tech options, but also some grassroots options today too.
Yeah, I actually love this question. If you have a limited budget, then you need to start moving your feet. You need to be out at events. You need to be out in the community and creating ambassadors for your mission, because the way you are going to spread your message with a limited budget is through grassroots. It's going to be leaning into your family, leaning into your friends, leaning into your community, incentivizing them to share the message. So that could mean going into Canva, creating some graphics, sending out a text and saying, hey, here's what I'm doing. Can you share this? Can you help me get this word out? You can also get creative with it. You can curate a playlist, right? And like use all of these other things that will incentivize people to open up an email that is a soft sell. You're not necessarily asking for something, but you are giving yourself a reason to go to people with an email. But yes, my big suggestion there is to get out into the community. And also, if you have a phone, start creating content. You can use yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be your own speakerphone. Start to record some messages, get those up on social. You can record a podcast. There are so many ways that you can use your own voice to get your message out. And also start to think about what the pathway to scaling that budget looks like, so you can understand, as you're spending your budget, what's your return on that spend, and how can you ensure, if you have 2,500 now to work with, how can you ensure next giving season you have doubled or tripled that with your efforts?
Right. And, on the opposite side of things, if you are working at an organization that manages an operating budget of $1 million or more, then what I would suggest is, if you're looking to bring in an agency to help you all manage a strategic marketing campaign, one thing you should know is that we are going to ask for the direction, the guidance around your goals. So I think it's important, as Nick is saying, lay the foundation year round, day in and day out, hit your feet on the pavement and like do the work. But when you bring in an agency, it's an opportunity for you to be strategic. It's an opportunity for you to really think about those big picture projects, those big goals, those big initiatives that you really want to wrap some resources around to amplify messaging, to reach new donors, or to actually activate some some dormant donors. So I think there's something to be said for preparing to actually bring in a PR and marketing team, because we're going to hit the ground running. We're going to expect answers to those questions, and we're going to want to help you build on what you already know. Now, if you need help figuring that out, that's okay too. We can just add in some lead time for that so that we can help you guys do that analysis and look at the data and identify opportunities for execution. But I just want to share that I know that this information can be overwhelming. Sometimes you don't know where to start, or you feel like it's too much. But we are certainly here to help, and this is what we love to do. We do have another question too. It says, what if there are some organizations out there that have a fear of donor fatigue? How do you find a balance between engaging past and future donors? Go ahead, Nick. You can start.
I'll jump in with
I'll
that.
jump in.
Yeah, this is why it's important to segment your audience so that you can know past donors from future donors, so that you're not sending out the same message. The way that you can balance fatigue is by tailoring that message. Maybe past donors don't receive communications as often. They don't need as much convincing. They know your mission. You can really be a bit more to the point and really focus on gratitude with past donors, so that you can focus on nurturing them and making sure that they feel appreciated throughout the year, so that when you do get to giving season and those messages are a lot more urgent and consistent, they won't feel as like, you ain't talked to me all year and now you want now you want money from me, so you want to make sure that you're nurturing your past owners throughout the year and also segmenting that list as much as possible. You're mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I was just gonna say I totally agree. That's kind of the direction I was gonna go as well. But I also think, if you're new to donor segmentation, one thing I would recommend is creating like donor profiles, right? Like creating a description of your target audience and, who, like you might have more than one, right? Depending on your organization, and kind of really paint the picture in writing of who your ideal donor is. Where are they? Do you tend to meet them at networking events? Do you tend to meet them online? Which platforms? Like really make notes on kind of like who you're targeting, and that makes it easier to do the segmentation that Nick just described, right? So that's a tip on where to start if you're not sure. You can really start to create we call them customer profiles or donor profiles, right? And you can also use AI for that, right? Like to help you guys if you're new to fundraising or to marketing. Try a chat GPT and say, hey, I manage, a nonprofit that serves dogs, and we provide free vaccination or adoption or something like that, right? And we are looking for donors. Who should we target? And how, right? That's a good place to start. I would not rely solely on AI. I do think you have to know what you're doing and fact check and gut check some of that, but it's a great idea generator. And if you feel stuck, I would highly recommend using that as a starting place, because it can help you keep your momentum going so you don't feel frozen and overanalyze anything in particular that we've shared today.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I think we have done a good job of kind of helping you supercharge your Q4 giving during an election year. We really want to just emphasize the fact that marketing is all about community building. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about helping you find your tribe and communicate your offerings to them in the most efficient way. So, simplify, simplify, simplify. If you're doing a bunch of services, if you have a bunch of products in the last portion of this year, I want to encourage you to just pick your top two and think about your strategies to support the amplification of that. And then reach out to us, start the conversation, see where it goes. We'd love to learn more about your organization and how we can help. If you have any questions about information that we've shared today, as Nick mentioned, please don't hesitate to reach out. Just shoot me an email at ashley@ceruleanconsultinggroup.com, or you can email Nick at ceruleanconsultinggroup.com. We're so grateful to have you with us. Any last words from you, Nick?
No, that's it. I will just echo that same message. We're so grateful for anyone who took the time out to join us live. Great questions. I love the questions that you all dropped here. If you're watching the recording, connect with us on social. And if you have questions, feel free to message us. We are pretty responsive, so you will definitely get through. You all will have access to these slides so you can go back through them. And if any more questions come up, please use this as a resource. Schedule some time with us and let's figure out how we can all support your mission together.
Absolutely. We are better together. That's our tagline. And that's actually a great note to end on, Nick. You don't have to do it all yourself. We're here. Nice to meet you.
Why do it alone? Thank you, Ashley. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, guys.